Hello, hi guys, happy Monday. So we're here again for another devotional. I hope that you all would have had a fantastic weekend. I hope that you would have rested, that your well has been replenished, that during the week, even though folks would have come with their buckets, whether it be your employer, whether it be customers, whether it be children, wife, husband, parents, siblings, whoever would have come with their bucket to dip from your well. I hope that it has been replenished, that it has been topped up, that you found time to recharge, to rejuvenate, to reset, and now you're starting off a brand new week with your battery at 100. So we're here again with my sister for yet another week, yet another devotional, and we're still dealing with our ladies, whether married, whether single, whether mothers, whether wives or not, just dealing with all the hats that we manage, all the things that we juggle as we take care of ourselves and those that we love and cherish. So today we're going to jump right in. You're not trying to be disciplined this year, right? Trying to stick to a short time, because I know us ladies are busy. So we're going to jump right in. We're reading from 2 Kings chapter 4 today, from verses 8 to 17.
Okay, so Elisha and the Shunammite woman. One day Elisha went on to Shunem, where a wealthy woman lived, who urged him to eat some food. So whenever he passed that way, he would turn in there to eat food. And she said to her husband, "Behold now, I know that this is a holy man of God who is continually passing our way. Let us make a small room on the roof with walls, and put there for him a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp, so that whenever he comes to us, he can go in there." One day he came there, and he turned into the chamber, and rested there. And he said to Gehazi, his servant, "Call this Shunammite." When he had called her, she stood before him, and he said to him, "Say now to her, see, you have taken all this trouble for us. What is to be done for you? Would you have a word spoken on your behalf to the king, or to the commander of the army?" She answered, "I dwell among my own people." And he said, "What then is to be done for her?" Gehazi answered, "Well, she has no son, and her husband is old." He said, "Call her." And when he had called her, she stood in the doorway. And he said, "At this season, about this time next year, you shall embrace a son." And she said, "No, my lord, O man of God, do not lie to your servant." But the woman conceived, and she bore a son about that time the following spring, as Elisha had said to her.
So we are reading about this wealthy woman. They didn't say this woman who had a wealthy husband. It was a wealthy woman who would have seen this prophet passing up and down and decided, "Hey, I'm just going to add on." I'm going to do some renovations and add on a room and furnish it for this man and his servant. So today I just want to touch a little bit on money management in terms of how could we, even though we are wives, even though we may not be the, although some of us are the wealthier earner in the home, but most times, it would seem that sometimes if we're not equal, we either less than our counterparts. So I just wanted to find out from you, because I know for me, sometimes you would see growing up, our mother's parents pinching the pennies and stretching a dollar much further than it should be stretching, and you just tend to wonder the 5 loaves and the 2 fish all over again. So we would have seen that, but how do we in our own time, where gas prices have gone up, food is doing the most, how do you put wise money management into practice to be able to keep a little something in the kitty for travel, for a little ice cream extra, far beyond what would have been calculated or budgeted for.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't say for a rainy day.
No, I hate the term. I hate the term. I don't want no rain.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't say for a rainy day. Like, I understand saving for in case of things happening, but you can also save for good things.
Yes, pleasurable things. This rain,
recreation and for
Jesus,
all of those things.
I beg.
But I really think money management is something. It's disappointing because nobody gets taught money management in school, and we were talking about this before.
Yeah.
And I just think it's something that you kind of learn along the way. You do a lot of trial and error. And then you eventually will grasp it and understand. But I think setting a budget, knowing what your incoming is, knowing what your outgoings are, every single outgoing, and then giving yourself, and that outgoing must and should include your giving.
Correct.
Your giving, whether it be tithes and offerings or just offerings or whatever it is, you're giving, and your recreation. So, and any other kind of, so if your nails is something that you pay for, if your hair is something that it should be part of the budget, and so put everything down in your budget as your, all of your outgoings, and obviously take the outgoings away from your incoming, and whatever the difference is, the rest of that shouldn't really be touched, because you've already allotted money for recreation. You've allotted money for hair and whatever, toiletries and so I think money management in terms of doing a budget, whether you do it on a spreadsheet or you just do you just write it down. Gas, this, mobile phone, that, all the way. Just make sure that you're doing that. You shouldn't be getting a salary or your money and just as you get the money, you just spend it here. You don't know what's happening. You need to become abreast with everything that's happening. And if you have like an online banking app, for example, my husband will say this over and over again. Like, it can be the smallest. If I see a transaction that's happened that I don't recognize, it could be £1.50, it could be £150, but I will know it because I know, I recognize, and I'm always in my banking app, and I'm making sure that, okay, this is what I spent, this is what I didn't spend, this is this is to come, my pending bills, so I think that's key. I also think just doing things like making sure that your dates align. So if, for example, you have, this is for people, it might be different for business owners and sole traders, but if you're paid, for example, on the 30th of every month or the 28th of every month, make sure that, or try your best to get all of your bills to come out somewhere close to that time, so that you then know it's even easier for you to see, like, okay, well, this is what I have left over. All of my bills have been taken, and this is what I can put into savings, this is what I can put into whatever. So I think that's really important.
And how do you feel like about multiple accounts? Because I know people who, well, these are not sole traders. Sole traders have to open their own business accounts, and you will have a personal account. But for somebody who your salary passes through a bank account, do you think it's wise to not just have that account, but to have a separate savings, don't touch the card, only in case of emergency, pretend they don't exist kind of account?
Yes, I do. I think I have a number of accounts. Current account where the salary goes in, savings where I might transfer the money into it, and I would say that savings account is quite easy to access. I don't have a card for it, but it's easy to. I could transfer money over into a current account. But then I have a stocks and shares ISA account, which is harder to. I would have to go through a few kind of steps to get that kind of money, and it's not really one that you should be touching. You want it to just accumulate and grow. And as the stocks continue to increase, then your money increases. So you may have put in pay in a certain amount every month, but as the stocks go up, you're getting money on top, obviously. So I think definitely key. And I think also you shouldn't necessarily be forced to, everyone's different, but this is my view, I don't think you should necessarily be forced to necessarily have a joint account alone, you and your husband. I think you can have
your own
personal account and a joint account.
Right.
Your salary doesn't necessarily have to go into the joint account either.
Right.
You can go into your own, and
this
you guys.
This is the lawyer coming out here.
You guys can both just communicate about what's going in, what's coming out, what needs to be paid, what new thing has come up for the month or whatever. But yeah, I think definitely making sure that you have an account that is kind of, you're not touching it, and it's not easy for you to access. You have no card for. I think that's very important. Very important.
So I heard you mention the stocks and shares account. How did you go about getting into that? Because I think I've talked to you about it before, wanting to do the Summit for Women in terms of financial planning and how we invest as women. And we are not taught that. I opened a credit union account as a full adult with children and married. Because it's just like nobody didn't tell you, and it was somebody that I knew in the church that I used to go to before that shared, that savings accounts that she would have and things, and I was just like totally embarrassed because you're a grown woman and you have no savings, like Melina, get your act together. And it was only when she shared those things with me that I just went and I opened one time at the I opened, and he was like, you're opening for I didn't even have Kylie Grace at the time, but she has one too, because I went back, and he was like, you're opening 4 accounts one time. I was like, yes, these 3 children and myself. So where do you get the information from to even know, okay, this is a thing?
So to find out about the stocks and shares account, I actually went to like something like what you're saying you want to do, but at my own church. And it was run by like financial, like people that were in the financial industry. And they gave us like in-depth detail about what to do and why. For example, it's not necessarily like a gambling thing, it's more like it's investment,
intentional
investment, and really about how to you're not really kind of, I guess, putting your money on the stock market for it to kind of go up and down. You're putting it into like a fund, which has like the top companies that are always doing well. So whatever top 10 companies, for example, are always doing well, they are in that fund. So if, let's say, Apple falls out and, I don't know, BMW goes in, your money's in the fund. It's not towards one particular, like Amazon or whatever. So they just gave us in-depth detail about that, and told us the different companies that actually have these stocks and shares ISA accounts. So that's where we found out from it initially. I also have a friend that used to come to our church as well. She's very, very good with financial planning, and she knows all about the different accounts and stuff like that. And I think it's just research, really. A lot of research, a lot of reading up, and trying your best to just find out the information, because you're right, it's not readily available. It's not just out there,
and nobody not bringing that up just so in any random conversation. Do you have savings? Do you have stocks? It's not something we can talk about the children. Girl, you have it's not
especially
something
amongst females. And when I think about even the group that meeting that I went to, it was run by, I think, all men actually ran that thing. But there were women and men in terms of in the congregation like attending, but it was men that were running it.
That's a lot.
So I think it's important to, I guess, like the Bible says about knowledge, we
suffer for the lack of it. We do. I mean, going back to the Proverbs 31 woman that we read last week, I can't imagine having merchant ship bringing in your stuff and you selling here, there and everywhere, and doing that successfully without proper financial planning. We don't talk about that enough. And we don't talk about it at all. There's nothing that comes up in terms of us being good mothers and make sure your husband having sex, and make sure you take care of the children, and you wash the clothes, and you iron the shirt, and you know how to put blue in the white so that they are brighter whites. These are the things that domesticated things, but we are not taught as women how to you know, to be financially secure, financially independent, financially
Yeah.
wealthy. This
Yeah.
woman did. She
Yeah.
went and told her husband, at least she didn't tell him, well, I'm going and do so and so,
Yeah,
so and so.
yeah.
She,
But
you know, she
said,
still let us
let's go.
do
She
so and so,
consulted.
so and so. And she would have been able to make that statement because she, as her own self, had her own wealth.
Yes, yeah.
So I think it is so important, but we don't talk about it enough. It don't even come up in conversations like, where do you invest? Do you do any investments whatsoever? Just cover insurance. You have insurance?
Yeah.
Do you have any personal injury? Do you have
Yeah.
an annuity? Like, these things don't come up at all in conversations, and we just talk about the cooking and the cleaning.
Yeah.
Where to get the sale? What soap powder does work better? And that kind of thing. That's it. Yeah, you ever tried this comforter? We don't talk about these. Like, somehow it's always the men to handle that part of it. And I find we're not finna do it this year.
Yeah, we don't need
I really want us to grow as women, and sometimes when we think about growth and as Christians, we think about just accomplishing the will of God and His purpose, and I'm all for it. I operate and I function there every day of my life, and I am 100% for it. But I think that there are rooms that we could enter into to have impact, and we don't get to because, like I said, for lack of knowledge. And so we don't enter into financial rooms, or we don't enter rooms that talk about the stock market because we are not knowledgeable in that area. We can't contribute, we can't ask, we don't know what questions to ask. Like, I don't even know where to begin sometimes in terms of that. And I just think we need to create more conversations around these things.
And I also think that it doesn't take away from your womanhood, which is what sometimes society or the church or whoever will tell you, that if you know this stuff, if you are involved in investments and stocks and shares and all that, you're now kind of you're in the male zone.
And you're
and I just disagree with that. I don't think it takes away from your woman. I think just like this Shunammite woman and the Proverbs 31 woman, you are able to do both. You can be domesticated and still have knowledge about finance.
Agreed.
and your life insurance and all of these things, because your husband also needs to know that my family is in good hands. Should anything happen to me, my family, my wife knows how to do this, and this. And it's not about taking over his leadership. We're not, we
don't want your role.
But we don't want that role.
But we want to be fully in ours.
Exactly.
Fully in ours. So I hope that this would not just encourage, but I challenge us women to not just make babies. I challenge us not just to wear a white dress and to do those things that, like, if you don't accomplish these things in life, that you're not fulfilled as a woman. But to do not just those things that we naturally were created to do. We have a womb. So yes, and even though you're not that, don't just think that, okay, well, if I'm not a wife or not a mother, then I'm not accomplished and I'm not fulfilled. But to explore the full gamut of womanhood. This woman was a wealthy woman. She was brilliant. She was full of the Spirit because she saw a need for somebody that was doing the work of God and fulfilled. She was used. She allowed herself to be used. She allowed God to use her to provide a need, and that took, I don't know if God would have ministered that to her, but she was obedient. And she did it, and she was able to reap the fruit of it, because not only did she bless them, but they in turn blessed her, and she was able to hold her blessing. So I want to stick up in there as well, because sometimes we take so long to be obedient that we don't realize sometimes that our obedience really is connected to the thing that we desire and want, or have been wanting. and she was able to hold that, and she had a son after, because it's just, and if she didn't, if Elijah was not in her house, then who was going to bring that prophetic word to her to tell her that this time next year that you would have been able to experience this? And it was through her obedience that she blessed him, and she in turn was able to be blessed. So I just want to add that tidbit there. But going back to what we were speaking about, let's not just be mothers, or let's not just be wives, but let's be 100% our full explore your full potential as a woman. You could be a business owner, you could be a wife, you could be a mother, you could be an entrepreneur, you could be an investor, you could be a mogul, you could be a top financial institute owner. Why can't you start a bank for black women or entrepreneurs who find it difficult to be able to secure loans to get mortgages and that kind of thing, because it's difficult, and you would have seen that need and decided, yeah, you know what, there isn't anybody doing this, there isn't a woman doing this, and it's going to be me. So let's not, like we said last week, to put caps on ourselves, but to dream so big, and to live 100% and leave this earth empty.
Yes.
Want to close with anything?
I think I'm good.
So we're good. So have a good week, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week, and like I said, I hope you are challenged by this video to not just stay here, but to continue to pursue being that ideal version of yourself, and that includes being financially stable, financially astute, wise, and to not just save a little penny here or save a little penny there, but to do so well that you're able to, God is able to count on you to bless somebody. He's able to count on you, or to call on you to be able to fill a hole for somebody who isn't, or to give somebody the start that they need to pursue their own dreams and visions. So until next time, guys, have a fantastic week. Bye. Olivia!